Spopovich, is that really you? Hercule asked as the hulking fighter flexed his fingers, arms spread wide. The world champion edged forwards warily. What's with the new look? Spopovich breathed. Not going to dignify me with a response, eh? Hercule grinned. Well, anytime you feel like speaking up, feel free to surrender. With that, Hercule made a dash at his opponent. Spopovich lunged, but he wasn't fast enough, and Hercule neatly jumped over his swinging arm, spinning in the air and landing a two-footed kick to Spopovich's face, downing him. Ha! You've gotten faster since last time, but you wouldn't believe the kind of training I've been doing. Spopovich is down already! The announcer cheered. This is starting to look like their last match. I don't think he's going to be getting up any time. Oh. He trailed off as Spopovich climbed mechanically to his feet, glaring with barely restrained fury at Hercule. He rushed, and Hercule swayed out of the path of his attack, jumping and delivering a chop to the back of Spopovich's neck. The mountain of a man toppled again, Hercule landing neatly behind him, though his breathing was now visibly heavier, and he took a longer time to recover his stance than last time. The announcer risked a comment. Is this the true final blow? Has Hercule truly vanquished Spopovich for a second time? Spopovich stirred again. It appears not. Spopovich gurgled, charging Hercule again. The champion grimaced, leaping warily to attack. The strange scene replayed itself 3 more times. Hercule easily outmaneuvered Spopovich, taking him down again and again. But his unique opponent was completely unfazed, easily picking himself up and continuing the fight. As Hercule continued to tire, he was forced more onto the defensive, just barely blocking several surprisingly rapid blows. What's with him? Don't tell me he's got ki powers too! But how? Spopovich's fist swung by Hercule's head, so close he felt the breeze of the moving limb, accompanied by an unnatural heat. Too close! I gotta finish this now! Interesting. Goku observed, leaning on the wall as he watched the fight. The big guy has really strong ki for a human. Of course your dad does too. Videl stood next to him. I don't get it. Where did these 2 ki fighters we don't know anything about come from? Don't know, Goku admitted. Maybe Crane Hermit trained him? Haven't seen him in a while. Or maybe Tao. Whatever it is, I'm getting a bad feeling. I'm worried about him. I just hope he hurries up and wins soon. Alright, you! Hercule somersaulted towards Spopovich. This is going to take you clean out of the ring! He launched a spinning kick at his enemy, who unexpectedly neglected to dodge. Hercule had planned for the impact of his attack on Spopovich's guard to launch the enemy fighter out of bounds, but in this case it landed right on the man's neck. Spopovich toppled like a felled tree, his head twisted at an unnatural angle. Hercule landed a short distance away, growing pale. Aw, crap! Still don't know my own strength! I broke the poor guy's neck! What am I gonna... Huh? Spopovich was standing up again. Slowly, as the crowd watched in horror, he reached up, taking hold of his head and snapping it back into position. He stretched his neck left and right, then straightened up and began approaching Hercule. The smaller fighter resisted the urge to back away, trying to keep his attack up in the face of his monstrous foe. He jabbed at Spopovich's face, but his fatigue was starting to truly take its toll, and he was too slow. Spopovich dodged and responded with a flying knee to the face. Hercule skidded to the edge of the ring on his back, breath knocked out of him, nose probably broken. What the... I was knocking him around a minute ago! He rolled out of the way as Spopovich's next attack, springing up and ramming home a barrage of quick strikes to the seemingly indestructible warrior's exposed flank. Spopovich barely seemed to notice, and after initially being staggered back, recovered in short order and punched Hercule in the stomach, grinning viciously. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Hercule saw the glee in his eyes. This was simple revenge. So, this is about last time. Figures. Fighting past the pain, Hercule jumped away, bounding acrobatically into the air and flying above the ring. What? Hercule's flying! It looks like what he said a minute ago wasn't an idle boast. What kind of training could he possibly have been doing? The announcer shouted. Ha! Hercule jeered. Can't get me up here! He was cut off as Spopovich appeared above him, kicking him back down to the earth. He bounced twice before pushing himself up into a sitting position to avoid being counted out. He winced, trying to open his eyes and seeing through a trickle of blood. He heard footsteps approaching. Something's not right, Videl insisted, hands clenched into fists. I can feel it! Well, the object is to beat the other person up, Gohan pointed out. Goku shook his head. No, Videl's right. That guy's fighting to kill. You sure? She asked, surprised. Yeah. I hope your dad will have the sense to throw in the towel sooner or later, if he can't pull a win out of the bag somehow. Hercule Satan.
You humiliated me. You laughed at me. Now, you will die for it.
Another blow crashed into Hercule's body, but he stayed on his feet. He struck back, but Spopovich didn't feel it. He stepped in, wrapping the fingers of one gigantic hand around Hercule's neck. The formerly boastful fighter groaned, trying to mount some sort of defense.
That monster's going to kill him!
Videl growled.
I'm already out of the tournament. Dad's lost. Disqualification doesn't matter. I'm helping him.
She took a step towards the ring, but Gohan jumped in front of her.
Hold on. We don't know the extent of this guy's power. I can handle myself against a human, Gohan.
Gohan grimaced.
True, and yet, that M. I get the chills just looking at it.
Before one or both of them could intervene to rescue Hercule, a sharp voice cut through the air.
Spopovich!
The brute's smaller ally, Yamu, stood behind Gohan and Videl, arms folded, glaring at his comrade.
Release him!
He is not sufficient for what we are seeking. Reluctantly, Spopovich nodded.
Soon.
He let Hercule fall to the floor. Free to breathe again, Hercule rolled over onto his back, spluttering.
Okay. I ain't stupid. I know when I'm beat. Damn it.
His fist pounded the already battered ring, making another small crater.
I give up.
His voice cracked slightly.
Oh.
Videl put one hand to her mouth, eyes widening with shock. What is it, Videl? Gohan turned back towards her.
I've just realized. He's never said that before.
Videl gulped.
This is the first time that he's ever had to surrender to anyone.
Launch made the first move, feigning with an attack to the right, then revealing that to be merely an afterimage and coming around from the left. Pui-Pui, unfazed by the deception, blocked her opening knife-hand strike, dodging the next few attacks and striking back with a barrage of punches. Launch struggled to defend, and a couple got through, knocking her away.
Don't you think you should help her?
Kaioshin asked Raditz.
She's already at a disadvantage.
Raditz grinned. Don't kid yourself. She's just warming up. Pui-Pui followed up, leaping after her and swinging both fists down to smash her into the floor. Before he could make contact, though, she sprung into motion.
Kaioken!
In a blur of red light, she was gone, coming around from behind him and landing a flying kick to his head. He skidded away, just managing to keep his balance. He looked up, and with a start saw her already sprinting towards him, trailing flares of energy.
What? His power! Where did it come from? Oh!
This as Launch reached him, her elbow cracking bones in his face. Slowly, Videl helped her father limp back into the competitors area. Take it easy, champ, Goku said, without sarcasm, patting Hercule's shoulder. You fought well. Something's just not right about that guy.
Alright.
Videl let Hercule sink into a chair, sitting next to him.
Are you okay, Dad? Don't know.
He sniffed. The pain didn't seem to be bothering him at all, only his pride.
Videl, I had to.
I know, it's okay. You lasted a lot longer than anybody could have expected. He nodded, holding back tears.
I just can't believe. I've lost before, but I've always hung on till I couldn't fight no more.
Hey, Goku stood in front of them, smiling. He held out his hand. Part of being a great fighter is knowing when fighting would be pointless, right? Hercule hesitated, then shook Goku's hand with all the strength he could muster.
Right you are!
His bravado seemed to achieve a kind of second win.
Plus, if you count the preliminaries, I won a lot more than I lost today, huh?
Videl beamed. You said it.
Damn it, we missed the preliminaries! Now it's too late!
Trunks moaned.
Sorry.
Goten laughed. He held up an empty packet of donuts.
But I found this great...
Trunks knocked it out of his hand.
Why are you always eating?
He yelled, exasperated. In his other hand, Trunks clutched part of the concealing outfit of the would-be tournament fighter, Mighty Mask. The unconscious body of the real Mighty Mask was laying face down in the corridor behind him. The plan had been to use the age-old trick of concealing costume, enabling one child to stand on its second shoulders to impersonate an adult, and thus enter the adult division of the tournament. However, the plan had run into a slight hitch.
But they were really good donuts!
Goten retorted.
Yeah, well...
Trunks had to concede that his friend had a point.
Well, you could have saved me some. Hey, what's going on here?
The duo turned, alarmed as break approached.
Crap, gotta think of a cover story. Nothing. We were just...
Trunks began.
We knocked out that guy and we were going to steal his clothes and fight in the adult tournament by pretending to be him, but then I found donuts and we were too late!
Goten explained matter-of-factly in that rushed, slightly too loud way of speaking child has when trying to get through a long story.
You were...
Break saw the costume, saw Mighty Mask's feet around the corner, saw Goten grinning and Trunks staring in disbelief at his friend's naivety.
That's so cool,
she whispered.
What?
Trunks blinked. That's stupid! Why would you bother? Your parents would just beat you in the finals. Because we get to fight more? Goten said, as if this was obvious. Oh, yeah, but... You're so childish! I'm 8 years old. Trunks, wise beyond his years, pointed out. Break swung on her heel and departed. Just remember, Spopovich, the spiky-haired one. The one that beat the girl. That was the kind of power we've been searching for. You'll be fighting in the semifinals. Try and hold him so I can drain his energy. And watch these next 2 matches. Some of these 4 fighters may display more power than they have up until now. Got it? Damn it! Babidi hissed, watching Launch smack Pui-Pui around via his crystal ball. She's putting out plenty of energy, but Pui-Pui isn't landing any hits anymore! We've only got a tiny amount of boo! This won't do! Master, what planet does Pui-Pui hail from? Dabura asked, an idea occurring to him. Perhaps there he'll have the home field advantage. Yes, I see, Babidi said thoughtfully. His home was... let's see... Zune, I believe. Yes, that was it. The diminutive wizard began waving his hands, manipulating the fabric of reality with ancient words of power. The group in Stage 1 paused to look around as the environment shifted, becoming rocky, open terrain and dark skies. The ground had a reddish tinge, up to the point where the center of the Stage 1 room, the hatch leading down into Stage 2 in the center of the floor, was inexplicably placed, in the same place in relation to the group as it had been inside the ship. It was evidently nighttime as twin crescent moons were visible in the sky. What the? Launch paused, giving Pui-Pui a moment to catch his breath, but didn't lower her Kaioken. I see, Kaioshin said quietly. Kibito nodded. Babidi used his magic to transport us to a new location, in order to give his fighter an advantage. But what? Pui-Pui knelt, picking up a small rock. This, Earth person, is my home planet, Zune, which means it's all over for you. Launch frowned. What are you talking about? Notice the difference? Pui-Pui let the rock fall to the ground. Despite its size, it left a deep crater. It's the gravity! 10 times that of Earth! Oh, so that's what that feeling is, Launch said. Well, whatever. Come on! She leapt at him, but stumbled, overshooting and allowing him to land a precisely timed energy blast to the back of her neck, bringing her down. What? Raditz exclaimed. Surely she's much stronger than I was, even when I learned to handle 100 times Earth's gravity. That may be, Nail said gravely. But she's never experienced higher gravity, has she? No. Well, it's true that at a certain point one can be so strong they can handle the increased weight. And she's definitely past that point. There's still a strange effect. A disjoint between the brain's instruction and the body's reaction. When you move that little bit slower and fall that little bit harder. You see? Right. Raditz clenched his fist. Still, she can recover. I'm sure there's no need to step in yet. 7, 8, 9, 10. Contestant Gohan is the winner. I know it was never going to be much of a contest, Krillin complained as he walked away from the ring at Gohan's side. But did you have to just stand on me for 10 seconds? Damn, even with Kaioken I couldn't budge you. Well, I know you're a clever fighter, Gohan said, shrugging. I figured if I gave you the chance to run around and plan, even for a couple of seconds, you'd use your solar flare, your Kienzan or something and force a ring out. Krillin grinned. It seems my power is known and feared throughout the world. What are you blabbering on about now, honey? 18 asked as she walked past him, on her way to her match. Oh, nothing much. I'm just out of my mind is all. He replied with a smirk. Some things never change then. Gohan coughed politely. Speaking of change, you grew your hair out? Oh, yeah. Krillin laughed, running a hand through his thick black crown of hair. I know the bald look was kind of my signature, but 18 asked me one day if it was natural or I shaved. I said I shaved, and she wondered what I'd look like with hair. I got to wondering too. I just got used to it, I guess. Gohan nodded. It looks good. More mature. Hey, you calling me old kid? Never. 18 shifted into a combat stance, facing Yamu across the ring. So, you're friends with the walking meatball? Funny. Yamu raised one hand, palm facing towards her. You're not sore about the fool Spopovich beat up, are you? Well, the poor man did hand Spopovich quite the beating last tournament. It's understandable that there might be some pent-up anger. His face twisted into a fierce yell, and he let fly a full-strength energy blast. 18 sighed, slapping it away into the sky. Fascinating. Shall I try? She began to form an energy ball in front of her hand. What? But no energy! Yamu frowned, casting an aside glance at the small key reader on the device Spopovich, standing by the sidelines, held, currently reading 0. He was unaware that he was facing an android with an artificial energy source. Krillin nodded to Goku. That's 18, always on top of things. Videl grinned savagely. I hope she kicks the crap out of that guy. See, this is how it's done. 18 fired, sending her beam right into Yamu's chest. He fell to his knees, hissing with pain. She slowly approached him, leaning down towards him, speaking in a childish, mocking voice.
Oh, did I pierce your little ribcage? I'm ever so sorry.
As she neared, Yamu tensed up, then sprang into action, grabbing 18 around the neck with one hand, twisting her arm behind her back with the other.
You fool! You've already forgotten that we don't feel like you do! The reader must have been broken, that's all. There was a lot of power in that blast. Spopovich! Now! Energy!
At that, Spopovich barreled out into the ring, leaping at 18. A strange, white, stone-like device, spherical with a needle-like protrusion, was held javelin-like in one hand.
Illegal interference!
The announcer declared.
Yamu! Spopovich! Cease this at once or you will both be disqualified!
18 smiled. Did you really think I'd let you grab me like that? Or that my friends wouldn't stop that moron? She twisted out of the hold, hurling Yamu into the air. All we were doing was drawing you out. So it's our energy you want, eh? She kicked the incoming Spopovich into the stadium wall, shattering it. Well, here! Have some! With that, she fired a barrage of energy beams Yamu's way. Bulma sat rooted to the spot in fear. The great pale-skinned brute had just smashed down the wall, inches from her face. Now those eyes opened, staring directly into hers. She could see the wheels turning inside his head, but couldn't bring herself to run. Those eyes, like inky black voids. Deceptively quickly, a high-speed glacier, he stood, resting his fingers lightly over her head. With a start, she realized the seats around her are already emptied as people fled for their lives. Yamu staggered back, under the onslaught.
Wait!
18 paused, ready to deliver another punch. The ring was devastated, the stands in chaos.
What?
She snapped.
You might want to stop attacking me, unless you want an innocent death on your conscience.
Slowly, 18 turned, seeing the giant and his hostage.
Bulma! Ah, someone you know. Even better.
Yamu took a deep breath, trying to recover his stamina.
Now, you're all going to let us walk out of here. No one is to intercept us, or do anything to.
Hearing his words, knowing 18 wouldn't risk it, Bulma shut her eyes, fighting the fear. No, you're stronger than this. Focus. This is it. This is why you've prepared. Just need to activate it. Hope he doesn't notice. Trying to keep her hands from shaking, she began to fiddle with the settings on her watch, though the watch part was, in fact, merely a disguise. Spopovich paid no notice. What was the human with no key going to do? Breathing steadily now, she primed the device. Okay, calm. This will work. The simulation worked. Most of the time. I mean, only 3% of the scenarios resulted in explosive removal of the arm. That's decent odds. Oh god, what am I saying? 3% chance that I lose a limb. I should have done practical tests. So little time. She felt the grip on her head tighten. They were about to take off, make their escape. Now or never. And I want to live. She bit her lip. Trunks! She flipped a switch. The feeling was instantaneous. How to describe it? A rush of energy, of life, flowing through her, escaping her, feeling the air around her. The ground cracked beneath her feet. Spopovich's hold felt like a child's. Oh, wow. Is this what it feels like to be Goku? Focus! This isn't the explosive evisceration 3%, but it didn't go perfectly. The world was moving in slow motion. She had plenty of time to think. A strange sensation was traveling up her spine. In about 2 seconds, it would become pain as her normal human body failed to cope with the sudden surge of energy she forced into it, and ripped itself apart. No such thing as a free lunch then. Still, 2 seconds was a long time right now. She was no fighter, of course, and didn't have time to just flail around trying to learn. So instead, she swung her head and shoulders forwards, effortlessly slipping free of Spopovich's grasp. Confusion began to spread across his face, with, to her, geological slowness. She took a step back, feeling the solid rock underfoot give way like sand. 1 second left. Here's hoping the simulations were right. This doesn't mix well with an existing key source. Taking a deep breath as Spopovich started to turn towards her, a surreal slow-motion dance, face now mostly contorted with anger. She placed both hands on his back, and shoved. Not as hard as she could, but certainly more than he could resist. The ease with which the giant began to tumble away was frightening. How long now? She lost track. The almost pain had reached her head. Her vision was blurring. Well, here goes. There's supposed to be about half a second residual charge, so even after I take it off, I should have time to. She slipped the wrist-mounted device off and took a step towards Spopovich, still glacially hurling away from her, and fastened the thing onto one of his fingers, the smallest of which was as wide as her wrist. Then, it ended. Just as suddenly as her hyperreality had came, it left, and suddenly her body felt heavy. Movement wasn't effortless. The ground was just too hard. Everything was moving too fast. Once Bulma was free, 18 could have intervened, being the closest and much faster than Spopovich. But seeing Bulma move with such speed and send Spopovich flying like that had rooted the android dumbstruck to the spot. What? What just... Yamu began, but 18 silenced him with a ki that drove his crumpled form into the ground. Spopovich, growling, lifted his head, then suddenly stopped. He began to twitch, his ki orb beginning to change in a wave spreading outwards from the small machine now attached to him, energy changing from white to a dirty gray. His body jerked, then spasmed, and he screamed in pain. Bulma stamped over to him as he continued to flail around, beginning to foam at the mouth, and retrieved her device, slipping it into her pocket before heading over to the other competitors. 18 had nothing to say but, what? Bulma leant against the wall as the fighters carted off Yamu and Spopovich for holding and eventual questioning. The normally peaceful scientist closed her eyes, putting a hand on her forehead. Okay. I'm fine. Oh gosh, feel terrible. She hissed, trying not to throw up. Pains lanced through her body. She sank down to a kneeling position against the wall. How? How do they do this? I could hear his breath. If he'd flexed his fingers, I'd be gone. So fragile. Are you alright? Zarbon sat next to her. She nodded, forcing a smile. I'll be okay. She took a deep breath. You all probably want to know what happened. That'd be nice, yeah. So essentially it's based on the principles of the Spirit Bomb, gathering energy from around the world, and the Kaioken's focusing energy within the body. Goku nodded. So that's why you've been asking about those techniques lately. Yeah, it's been continuously absorbing tiny amounts of energy from its surroundings for the last few years. Since it's a constant drain, it doesn't take nearly as much at a time as the Spirit Bomb, so you'd still never notice the effect. As such, even years of absorbing only gave it a tiny charge. It was meant as a last-ditch sort of thing. It's got about a minute's charge left, not that anybody'd be able to use it that long. Right, so it only worked briefly. Will you be able to make an improved model? Gohan asked. Well, the laws of physics being what they are, I'd have to say no, she admitted. I don't think I'll ever be able to build something that's essentially artificial superpowers. A human body can't cope with the strain, whereas someone who's already ki capable experiences similar trauma as the two energies clash with them. Kind of like why I couldn't fully use Kaioken when I'm in Super Saiyan, Goku suggested. Exactly like that, actually. I think I need to sleep for a week now. Still, it worked, right? After Cell, I didn't want to go through that again, and that was the purpose of this project. A+. She looked over at the corner of the room. Hey, they're waking up. Yamu opened his eyes, immediately surprised that he was still alive. Then he looked up, to see 18 Videl and Zarbon standing over him, glaring. 18 cracked her knuckles. We have a few questions for you.
But we need more energy to revive Buu, so we were sent here to drain power from this world's greatest fighters.
Videl sighed. Apparently you didn't realize the slight hitch in your plan. The thing about attacking this world's greatest fighters is that they are the world's greatest fighters. Zarbon tossed the energy-draining device from one hand to the other. Interesting. I would say this is all Hercule's fault for being a braggart and humiliating the gorilla here, but if it wasn't for him, this body would have just enslaved someone else. This drew a growl from Spopovich. Quiet you, 18 snapped.
What are you going to do to him? Yamu chuckled. I mean, I'm tough, yes, but as you proved just now, even I have a breaking point. Spopovich, though, he doesn't feel pain at all.
No, but I don't think he can regenerate, 18 reminded him. I can always start removing things that aren't easy to grow back.
Spopovich paled, then fell silent.
The information was quickly relayed to the others, some of whom were currently maintaining a key barrier around the room to fend off the press, the announcer, hordes of martial arts fans, the police, and other assorted interlopers. Krillin folded his arms, pacing. Wizards and monsters. It had to be today, didn't it? We just need a couple of our best to go in and take this wizard out quickly, 18 decided. There was a slight pause. Oh! Goku smiled, placing a hand on Gohan's shoulder. You mean us? Yeah, you two. She indicated Babidi's servants. Take them back to your boss. I'm not asking. Right. Yamu took off, Spopovich following, with Goku and Gohan close behind. I guess those two will get the job done, Krillin said. 18 grinned. More importantly, if we can get the tournament back on track quickly, I won't have to fight either of them. That prize money's mine. You mean ours, dear. Yes, alright. That's it for chapter 75. I'll see you in chapter 76 in just a few seconds. Stay tuned. Launch did her best to recover, pushing off the ground and propelling herself away from Pui-Pui even as he tried to follow up. She spun, kicking at his head, but again, the difference between how fast she felt like she should be moving and how fast she actually moved was disconcerting. Taking advantage of her disorientation, Pui-Pui dodged again, throwing himself forwards and crashing down on her with a vicious elbow drop. Yes, that's it! Babidi said gleefully. Now we're starting to see some energy! Keep it up, Pui-Pui! Kaioshin looked agitated. She's in trouble! Raditz shook his head firmly. This guy's nothing. Launch gritted her teeth, trying to focus her vision, which in addition to being blurred by the pain of Pui-Pui's attacks, was being played hell with by the gravity. She wrapped both hands around Pui-Pui's arm, pulling him down towards her and smashing her knee upwards into his face. She jumped up after him as he fell back, fist burning a red tail through the air as she swung at him. He noticed it in time, catching her hand and stopping the attack. They pushed against each other for a moment, each digging their feet into the ground and using their free hand for a rapid exchange of low, close-range strikes and parries. Thinking quickly, Launch swung her head in, aiming for Pui-Pui's face. He broke away, rising slightly into the air and reaching his arm around for a headlock. She couldn't quite escape in time, so threw all her weight behind the charge, bowling him over. He rolled back with emotion, kicking her into the air and preparing an energy ball between his hands as she flew uncontrollably away. Nothing for it then. Didn't want to have to use this twice in the same day. But... Spirit Kaioken! Instantly she came to a halt, bathing the whole landscape in a red glow, her body barely visible beneath its flaming aura. Pui-Pui's blast, when he fired, simply shattered several feet away, unable to counteract the massive waves of energy flowing from her. 10 times gravity, you say? I don't feel a thing! But I do need to finish this quickly. She rocketed down towards him, appearing directly in front of him. Then when, uncomprehending, he lashed out, she phased out of view again, reappearing behind him and propelling her right hand towards the center of his back. Her fingers were held out straight, in the blade formation, and the spearhead of this arrow shape, armed with a payload of explosive ki, jammed between two vertebrae, emitting a sickening crack. Yay! Pui-Pui shrieked, legs folding out from under him. He flopped to the ground, almost pathetically. Launch lowered her arm, letting her amplified power fade. In theory, that should have broken your spine. I've never actually done it to someone before, but judging by the way your legs aren't moving, I say it did the job. Wow, Raditz blinked. Efficient. Incredible. Kaioshin almost couldn't believe his eyes. To think that such strength exists on this planet. Launch rolled her head from side to side. Guess I should finish you now. She closed her eyes for a second. But, nah, it wouldn't sit right with me. Who knows what you were like before Babidi enslaved you? He must have been a pretty bad guy already, Raditz pointed out. Babidi has to seize on existing evil in somebody's heart, remember? Yeah, I know. I just don't really want to kill him. What's the point after I won? All I do is leave a bad taste in my mouth. Come on, let's head to the next stage. She began to walk towards the hole in the floor. You haven't won, damn you! Pui-Pui spat, raising his head jerkily. Energy began to form around both hands. I'll kill you, upstart! At this point, he ceased to be. A sudden explosion of energy blew Pui-Pui to dust. Launch looked around, seeing Nail with one smoking hand raised. Unfortunately for him, I have no such scruples. You're not going to call me naive or an idiot now, are you? She asked, smirking. No. For all you knew, he wasn't a threat. Nail walked over to join her, and followed by the others, they descended to stage 2. Babidi pounded his fists on the crystal ball. No! Where did she get all that power from so quickly? It looks like we'll have to step up our game for stage 2. Dabura decided. Who should we send out? He paused, clearing his throat. Shall I? No need. We'll save the best for last. Babidi suddenly gave a sly grin.
I know. Let's let Yakon cut loose on them.
An excellent choice, Master. Dabura replied, motioning to a nearby soldier, dressed in a similar garb to Pui-Pui. Release Yakon. The trooper paled.
Are you sure?
Are you questioning me? Shaking his head nervously, the soldier ran off to the edge of the shadowy room. The noise of a crank being turned carried over to Babidi and Dabura, then the soldier's voice whispering.
Easy. You need to...
At that point, we was replaced with incoherent screams at the sound of snapping bones and tearing flesh.
Sounds like Yakon's been working up an appetite, chuckled the bulbous-eyed mastermind.
Hey, what's the deal? Raditz asked, no one in particular. This room looks exactly like the last one. Some people go in for that sort of thing, Launch muttered. And that Babidi organizes his sock drawer, too. The door on the wall slid open. At first, nothing appeared. Then came a heavy footfall. A second, a bestial roar. Finally, the creature called Yakon squeezed its way through the doorway. It was massive, several feet taller than any of them, and wide with it. It was green-skinned, with great taloned arms and legs, huge spikes jutting out from its back and its wrists, and a triangular head with large, piercing eyes, sunk completely into its shoulders. The M mark was in the middle of its chest, just beneath its chin. I'm getting a weird feeling, Launch grumbled. Like I'm in a Godzilla sequel, and not one of the good ones. Unexpectedly, the creature spoke.
Hello, Lunch.
Launch, actually, but close. Ignoring her, it swung its head from side to side, clacking its curved talons together.
Who do I eat first?
I'll go, Nail said, marching up to the monster and squaring off against it. As we guess, they're increasing the level of their fighters as they go along. You should go last. Whoever they throw at us, you'll be best equipped to take them on. Right. Raditz gave a thumbs up. Smart thinking. Good luck. Hold on. Kaioshin's eyes narrowed. This creature is familiar. Launch looked over at him. Yes, Kibito agreed. Do you remember, Lord? Yakon is its name. He shivered. One of the most feared monsters in all the universe. It's on a completely different level to the last fighter. It's unlikely your friend will be able to win alone, Kaioshin said to Raditz. You should help him. There's no rule saying you can't fight twice. Raditz looked confused. But this is Nail's fight. It wouldn't be fair to him to get in the way. What are you? He's a warrior. Can't go breaking his concentration. Raditz smiled. Just have a little faith in these people, will you? Indeed, Nail's brow was furrowed in rapid thought as he assessed his opponent, looking for weak points, identifying possible routes of attack, trying to measure its power level. Drool fell from its mouth, forming enormous puddles, lakes practically, on the floor below. Finally it struck, swinging for Nail. He stepped in, moving in a blur and avoiding its massive spike tip as it slashed towards him, instead letting the flat of the spike strike him and skidding away across the room, churning up the ground as he stopped his movement. He didn't even try to block it? Launch frowned. Raditz smiled. I see. Nail continued with a strange tactic for a few seconds, letting Yakon land hits on him and taking minor blunt impacts, but always moving just enough to avoid being slashed or stabbed by its natural weapons. Finally, after one particularly forceful blow nearly knocked him off his feet, he straightened up, raising his guard.
Finally fighting,
Yakon asked, licking its lips. Come up here and see! Grinning mischievously, Nail took off, heading for the high ceiling of the room's center. Yakon followed, or tried to. As soon as it left the ground, it spasmed in pain, crashing back down. Nail pointed all 10 fingers downwards, focusing his energy in his fingertips.
Yeah!
10 bright yellow energy waves smashed into Yakon's body, engulfing it in flames. Nail landed side on to his downed enemy, panting visibly. What did he do? Launch asked. Raditz explained. You saw him sort of dodge the spikes? Yeah. Notice he was always moving in towards Yakon when he did. That flash of movement? Not just dodging, he was striking back at high speed several times for each dodge. Every blow he took, he was paying back 5 times over. But it didn't affect Yakon until now? Nail took over the explanation, since Raditz didn't know either. Things got incredibly hard-skinned, so I was looking for his pressure points. It took a while since I'm not familiar with his anatomy. When I found them, I knew it from the reaction I felt in my fists, so I made him perform a big physical action, leaping into the air. That's when he found his muscles weren't working like they were supposed to. Hold on, I'll get back to you. Nail turned back towards Yakon's slowly rising form. You like that, huh?
You think you've won?
Yakon gave out a low growl, shuffling towards Nail. Seems that didn't hurt him as much as I'd hoped. Nail set his jaw, adopting his traditional fighting stance. Alright, come at me! Babidi stroked his chin,
This won't do. The fighting's heating up. Shockwaves in the ship could wake Majin Buu before he's ready.
That would be disastrous, Dabura confirmed. Where do you wish to send them for this fight, then?
How about Yakon's favorite? Babidi suggested. The planet of darkness. I forget its name. Yes, that'll do just fine.
He recalled the ancient words of power once more, muttering over his crystal ball. The planet of darkness, suffice to say, lived up to its name.
Where did he send us this time? Launch growled. I can't see a thing,
Raditz hissed.
and I bet this Yakon doesn't share that problem.
To top that off, he's hiding his key, Nail realized. Sneaky bastard. Yakon was, in fact, hanging off the overhead cave ceiling, for they were deep underground. Not that it was any brighter on the surface. Like a giant grotesque bat, it clung easily to the rock, shuffling along silently and approaching its prey, careful not to let any drops of saliva drip down to them and alert them of its presence. It then withdrew its reflective wrist spikes, and let the ambience of the cave obscure the source of its voice.
Welcome. You'll have already noticed where we are. You can't see me, but I see you just fine. The red one just raised his arm.
True enough. Kibito was holding his hands out in front of him in order to avoid bumping into anything.
This is Yakon's home, Kaioshin said gravely. I'm not sure if any of us will be walking out of this one alive.
Raditz sighed.
Why are you always so damn pessimistic? Oh, do you want to know? Kaioshin snapped. Shall I start with the ace and work down the list?
And if he didn't already know our exact position, he certainly does now, Kibito thought, exasperated. Nail took a deep breath. He straightened up slightly. With no warning, he whirled, planting a spinning kick into the approaching Yakon's face and bringing it down hard. Slowly, he lowered his leg. Nice try, but Namek's here pretty well.
Nice try, yourself,
Yakon grunted, climbing to its feet.
But your attacks still aren't hurting me.
Yeah, that hide of yours is just about impenetrable, Nail grimaced. If I need help, I won't be afraid to call for it, but I'm not finished just yet.
You know, I guess we could have some light in here. Raditz gritted his teeth, pulling in his arms and making his Super Saiyan transformation for the first time in a while. A wave of golden light flowed over the rocky contours of the cave, like water breaking on the shore. Nail and Yakon were sharply illuminated. Ah, Kaioshin said, confidence returning to his voice. I was wondering when the Super Saiyan would show himself.
Babidi frowned. What's this? He's the one who diverted your blast outside, yes?
That's correct, Dabura nodded. And just like before, he's changed his appearance. That's a lot of light he's emitting.
I wonder.
Babidi called for his energy scanner, and a soldier brought it. Holding the spike pattern device in both hands, the wizard indicated Raditz's image in the crystal ball. The readout shocked him.
3,000 killi? For a native of this planet?
Dabura gave a non-committal grunt, and it only takes 300 or so to destroy a planet, if I call correctly. Perhaps the device is broken.
Quite possibly.
Babidi switched it off, handing it back to the waiting soldier for storage.
If not, though, we should be glad it's not him fighting Yakon. The poor thing only has 800 killi.
Fear not. Even an opponent with 3,000 killi is no match for me. And if I fight in stage 3...
Quite right. They will not pass you, at least, Dabura.
Yakon, for some reason, was grinning toothily. It rumbled.
Dinner is served.
What are you talking about? Nail began, and was drowned out as Yakon opened its mouth wide, beginning to suck the very light out of the air. The suction narrowed its focus to Raditz and his shining aura, and the Super Saiyan felt a strange, wrenching sensation. Seconds later, the cave was pitch black again, only now it seemed even darker than before since it had just become used to the light. Raditz patted his hair, puzzled. I'm back to normal?
Ah! How could I forget?
Kaioshin spluttered.
Yakon eats light, so your light energy must be a rare treat for him.
Raditz, be careful. Don't go Super Saiyan again. He'll only eat your energy, Kibito warned.
Right. Raditz nodded. Nail won't have to worry about that, at least. Actually, Nail answered from a few meters off in the darkness. Well, you'll see.
Yakon, you fool! Babidi fumed. If you suck up all that energy for yourself, it's wasted. It won't go to Buu. Just inflict some real damage already. Beat them to a pulp. Impale them. Eat them for all I care. Just do something useful.
I may not have that Super Saiyan taste you seem to like so much, but how's this for a main course? Nail asked, beginning to power up. This time, he ensured that when he brought his energy to the surface, he focused it into light form. Bright white flickers of power began to fill the space around him, expanding into the rest of the cave.
What are you doing? Kaioshin yelled in panic. This is exactly what he wants!
Yeah, I know. Nail pumped his remaining energy into the air, letting it arc and swirl around him. Yakon licked its lips, then began to suck at the air again. As before, all the ki-generated light immediately swerved into its maw, vanishing without a trace, but for the slight glow beneath Yakon's skin as it metabolized the light, converting it into chemical energy in its unique digestive system. Nail dropped to one knee, exhausted, his energy flickering out. There you go. That's about all I've got. Yakon towered over him.
Not a good plan.
No? Nail's eyes narrowed. What if I told you that I know a very specific technique, which I taught myself some years ago? This is only the second time it's ever come in useful. After Cell, I didn't think I'd ever have another use. But I guess I was wrong. He glared up at Yakon. I can fully control my energy after it's left my body, even if it's inside someone else.
What?
Yakon hissed.
What?
Kaioshin mumbled, echoing the beast.
Is he telling the truth? Such a strange ability.
Then I'm willing to bet your insides aren't as well protected as that skin of yours.
Yeah!
He thrust his hands forwards, and there was a tremendous bang from within Yakon. It lurched forwards, body twisting and contorting, then finally collapsed to the ground. Smoke poured from its nostrils and ears. It didn't move. Is it dead? Kibito asked hesitantly. Of course it is. Raditz replied cheerily. Nice one, Nail. Come on, let's get moving. Launch rolled her eyes. Of course. As soon as it's his turn next, he can't stand still. Kibito approached Nail, helping the Namekian warrior to his feet. Take it easy. You fought well. I will heal you. Thanks. Nail said, sighing as he felt the magical rejuvenation flow through his body, augmented by his own natural regenerative abilities. The group made their way towards the hole in the floor, descending to stage 3.
No!
Babidi hissed. Dabura growled, clenching his fists.
Yakon!
They are resourceful to have come this far without losing any fighters, or even giving a substantial amount of energy to Majin Buu.
Babidi gave Dabura a sidelong glance.
You can take care of them.
Have no fear. They will not defeat me, Dabura assured his agitated overlord. The third room was, as expected, identical to the first two. However, at first, no enemy appeared. Okay. Raditz began to take on a more serious manner as the minutes stretched on. If my opponent ever does show up, think it'll be Dabura?
Quite possibly, Kaioshin replied. I certainly can't think of anyone else they could send out who would be more challenging than Yakon was.
Well, I just wish they'd hurry. I suppose we could just go down anyway. Kibito shook his head. No, we'd have to blast our way through. So far, it's always been locked until the enemy is defeated. And we've been over the fact that we don't want to wake Majin Buu by accident by damaging the ship. Alright. But they better be here soon. We've only got 24 hours after all. The Elder Kai sat at his own crystal ball, watching events unfold in disbelief.
How has no one ever heard of this planet? These fighters are making the Supreme Kai himself into a bystander. Hell, I can almost believe that they can take on Dabura and Buu.
He gulped.
Almost.
Alright, when are you going to send your guy already? Raditz shouted. Let's get a move on, huh? At this, someone did appear, seemingly fading into view out of thin air. 4 someones, actually. Goku, Gohan, Yamu, and Spopovich. What? The newly arrived Saiyans whirled around in confusion.
Raditz?
Gohan exclaimed. Yeah, Raditz shrugged. I'm apparently allowed to come back for a day. Do you know about Babidi and Buu and everything, or do I need to explain that? Goku ran up to his brother, clapping him on the back. No, we know the whole story. Wow! Launch must be happy. I'm standing right here, she reminded him. Yeah. Good for you. He laughed. She shook her head at his bumbling speech. So, who's this? The younger Saiyan sibling asked. This is the Supreme Kai, and his servant Kibito. Raditz explained, indicating the pair behind him. He tasked me with taking down Babidi. What about those guys? They're with Babidi, right? Yeah, Gohan said, glancing towards Yamu and Spopovich, who were edging towards the door. They tried to drain our energy at the World Tournament, but it didn't work out for them, so we had them lead us here. I'm guessing they thought they were leading us into a trap, but we had every intention of fighting Babidi, so it's fine. Launch shot a look at the 2 human slaves of a wizard, then looked back to Goku and Gohan. We've already done a bit of that ourselves. There are 3 stages, apparently, and we have to beat the fighter at each one to progress. Thing is, any damage we take goes as energy to reviving Buu. Kaioshin smiled warmly. I take it you are friends. Nods of assent. Then you are most welcome to join us. Your allies have fought bravely already. He made an effort to remember names.
Launch and Nail have already defeated their opponents. However, we expect the enemy for this third stage to be on a much higher level than the first two. Isn't it exactly what he said about Yakon? Raditz wondered. Sounds interesting. Goku grinned, battle hunger gleaming in his eyes. What I'd like to know is how we got here. One minute we were just outside the ship, the next we were down here.
That is quite simple, said a voice from behind them. They turned, seeing the door opening. Dabura, the king of the demon world, emerged, cape billowing out behind him. My master wished to gather you all together in one place, in order to keep an eye on you.
Dabura!
Kaioshin whispered.
It's as I feared.
My lord, Yamu intoned, as he and Spopovich bowed low. Dabura eyed them for a second, then made up his mind. Master Babidi has no need for failures. His left hand swept around in an arc, and two bright flashes of light shone for a second. Then, Yamu and Spopovich's bodies began to slump to the ground. Their heads rolled away bloodlessly, severed from their shoulders. Dabura had fired two razor-sharp energy waves in the blink of an eye, disposing of the servants who had failed to bring back any precious energy for Buu.
Hey, you bastard!
Gohan yelled.
What are you going killing your own people for?
They were no longer of use, Dabura explained. Merely a distraction. I cannot tolerate weakness in my underlings. Now I advise you to all attack me together. Otherwise it wouldn't even be a contest.
I don't know about that, Goku said. That wouldn't really be fair.
Alright, you. Raditz reached up, hand going to the sword hilt at his shoulder. I'll be your opponent.
Now hold on a minute,
Goku argued.
I just got here. I want to fight.
Yeah, and what about me? Gohan protested. Kaioshin stepped between them.
You should listen to him. I'm serious. You can't beat someone like this one-on-one,
he insisted. They ignored him, rounding on each other. Fine, fine, Raditz grunted. We'll decide the old-fashioned way. The three Saiyans nodded, each holding out one hand.
Rock! Paper! Scissors!
They cried in unison. A draw. 3 papers.
Rock! Paper! Scissors!
One of each sign. Another draw.
Those headstrong fools!
Old Kai muttered to himself, pounding the ground with one fist.
That battle lust of theirs is going to get them killed going up against a creature like Dabura. Rock! Paper! Scissors!
Finally, a result. 2 scissors. 1 rock.
Gotcha!
Gohan crowed. Looks like I'm up. He turned towards Dabura. Are you serious? Dabura wondered. I'll crush you, Earthling. Only half.
What?
Never mind. Hey, Babidi! Gohan called up into the air. You teleported us in here. Can we get a change of scenery now? Somewhere more open, maybe. There isn't much room to fight in here.
Impudent child!
Dabura's eye twitched.
He has a point,
Babidi said, speaking telepathically to Dabura.
Besides, the ship must remain intact.
Very well, Dabura answered promptly. But a planet similar to this one, I require no additional advantages.
If you say so.
The now familiar feeling of Babidi's magical transportation accompanied the shift in scenery, and they found themselves in a jagged, rocky landscape beneath red skies. Yeah, this looks good. Gohan raised one hand in front of his face, sliding 1 foot backwards and locking his eyes on Dabura. He burst into his Super Saiyan form. This again, Dabura noted. He considered Goku, observing his similarity to the other two. Can he make this transformation as well? All 3 of them together could prove challenging. Come at me. Alright! Gohan struck the first blow, punching straight through Dabura's guard and hitting his head. Dabura rolled with it, coming to rest on a nearby rock face. Interesting. I didn't expect your race to be this strong. He pulled in a deep breath. Killing you will be most enjoyable. That's it for Chapter 76. I'll see you in Chapter 77 in just a few seconds. Stay tuned. Dabura's counterattack was as swift as it was unexpected. He leaned back, then swung his head and shoulders forwards, mouth opened wide. Careful! Launch called. If he spits on you, you'll turn to stone! However, this was not what Dabura was planning. A great gout of flame flared out from between his lips, scorching a huge area in front of him. Gohan only just avoided the attack, leaping high into the air. Or not, Launch continued. Guy's got a lot of tricks. Gohan, however, had played right into Dabura's hands. As he soared upwards, he found Dabura waiting in his path. He tried to readjust to this new angle his foe was coming from, but his swinging arm passed through an afterimage. Dabura appeared to his left, body stretched out horizontally, slamming feet first into Gohan and sending him flying into a nearby cliff. Dabura floated, almost still, for a couple of seconds, watching for any sign of his enemy. Not much after all. Aw man, Goku groaned. He's down already? I hope he's alright.
Still, at least I get another shot at fighting. Then, something stopped him. The ground began to shake. A column of yellow light burst directly upwards from the center of the crumbling cliff, blasting a hole through it.
Yeah!
Letting out all his ki at once in a violent explosion, Gohan ground the rock around him to dust, throwing his arms out above his head and emitting a determined yell. As fragments of rock rained down around him and his aura receded to normal, he lifted his head towards Dabura. "Don't celebrate yet."
No, that'll come shortly.
Dabura replied and stretched out one arm. Without warning, and with commendable skill at quick energy gathering, he let fly a crackling ball of dark energy, black and red like dying fire. It drove into the ground, detonating upon contact, and forcing the less powerful of the bystanders to shield their faces from the shockwaves. The backblast blew Dabura's cloak up around his shoulders, whipping back and forth, but due to subtle ki pushes he sent out, never flapping unseemingly over his face. He was just about to crack a fanged smile when Gohan, unharmed, shifted into view behind him, pieces slotting together like a jigsaw puzzle assembling himself.
Kami!
Dabura whirled, raising his guard and simultaneously launching a goblet of his deadly saliva Gohan's way. Remembering Launch's warning, Gohan flinched and it hit his belt. Frantically, he tore it from his body, hurling it away even as it turned rapidly to brittle stone, smashing to pieces on the ground.
Ugh!
Gohan exclaimed. That was close. Raditz frowned. He keeps barely avoiding these deadly attacks. I'm starting to think you should have pushed him a little harder in his training, Goku. I mean, Dabura's just playing around here. Goku shook his head. Gohan has been working on some things, like shifting faster to dodge attacks on instinct, for instance. You just saw that one. But that's just one of the tricks he's figured out. Nell gave a concerned glance at Goku. Tricks? What do you mean by that? Wait and see. Babidi pounded his head with his tiny fists.
Dabura, you colossal idiot! If you turn him to stone, we won't get any energy! I know it's new to you, but try and think, moron!
Dabura, telepathically hearing this rant, resolved to continue to fight Gohan in a way that would cause him to expend as much energy as possible. A smile slowly spread over Gohan's face. Guess now's as good a time as any. Dabura didn't have time to ask what he meant. Gohan thrust his arm out to the right, but it blurred and disappeared in midair, appearing below Dabura and catching him around the ankle. Swinging his arm, Gohan threw Dabura directly towards him, withdrawing his arm through its portal, and drawing it back in time to land a hard right to the Demon King's face, spinning him around. Babidi's right-hand man growled, feeling teeth chip in his mouth. He came to a halt, reversing his spin to face Gohan.
Interesting technique you've got there.
Thanks! Gohan smiled innocently, rubbing his nose. Whoever it was that Raditz was fighting with, or against, a year ago, they were a master of the shifting technique. It took a couple of pages out of their playbook. Much prefer experimenting to normal, repetitive martial arts training anyway. Though I suppose repetition is kind of the point. He shook his head, returning to matters at hand. Just in time, too. Dabura was holding up one hand open-palmed, and in a flash of light, a huge bladed, slightly curved, cross-hilted sword appeared in it. He closed his fingers, leveling the weapon at Gohan.
Well, you're not the only one with a few aces up their sleeve, as you've no doubt observed.
Hey, I didn't go waving an axe at you, Gohan said, grinning nervously. Kind of unfair, isn't it?
There's no fair in battle. It is an artificial concept and has no place between true warriors, Dabura snarled. Arm yourself if you can, but I doubt you'll have the time. Yeah!
He kicked off the air, speeding at Gohan, who hurriedly shifted. Dabura had expected this, however, and his alert eyes and ears picked up on the Half-Saiyan's movements angling towards him. Halfway through Dabura's swing, however, a metallic clang echoed throughout the landscape. Gohan and Dabura landed opposite each other, puzzled, and behind Dabura landed Raditz. The demon turned in some confusion, seeing the otherworldly fighter once again in his Super Saiyan form. This time, however, his sword was drawn, now held loosely in one hand with the tip resting on the dusty ground. The hilt and blade were of the purest black coloration, seeming to suck in all light, and all carved out of one solid block of the strange black material. True, fair is an artificial concept, he said quietly. But aren't those all that separate us from animals? Without artificial things like fairness, equality, and loyalty, where would we be? Dabura started angrily towards Raditz, but found that as soon as he took a step, another clang heralded a good 3/4 of his weapon's blade falling to the ground, sliced cleanly from the hilt in the same motion Raditz had used to parry and protect Gohan, and only detached now by Dabura's further movement, so fine was the cut. Raditz's face sighed on to Dabura, holding his midnight black sword up in front of his face. Kachin. Hardest and strongest metal in the universe, I'm told. Gotta thank Supreme Kai for making this after the Z-Sword broke.
I assume with all your talk of fairness, you have no intent of further interfering with my fight with the boy,
Dabura said curtly. Raditz sheathed his sword, the strange weapon sliding into its scabbard in complete silence. Of course not. Until Gohan asked to tag out, this is his fight. But, if you want a sword fight, he jabbed a thumb up at himself. I'm your opponent. He powered down, walking back over to the others. Goku seemed surprised. I wouldn't really call using a sword unfair when we can all throw energy attacks and the like. Raditz shrugged. Well, as we said, Gohan's fighting sense is, pitiful, Nail supplied. Especially when you consider his immense power for his age. It's a waste, really. Yeah, pretty much. Raditz agreed. He'd have a lot of difficulty if the fight carried over to close quarters, as Dabura would have a big reach advantage, and one hit to the right spot could be fatal. Honestly, the main reason was that I didn't think he could handle it. Goku poked Raditz playfully in the chest. That and you were hoping he'd take you up on a sword fight, right? That too, I guess. Nail snorted. Figures. Launch walked closer to the fight as it resumed in earnest, Gohan and Dabura moving into a rapid blur of close-range strikes and blocks. I just hope that Gohan can keep his anger under control. So far it's been pretty even, but if he starts losing, well, you guys know better than me how he gets. Right, we better watch that, Raditz agreed. Though you did that once, Goku. With Cell, remember? Just snapped. I'm honestly surprised you've never done it, Goku admitted. I mean, not to be rude, but what with your background? I'd like to think I moved past that, thanks. Raditz growled. Don't remind me of that time before, alright? Locked in combat though he was, Dabura's pointed ears pricked up at these last few sentences. Nail's assessment had been correct. Dabura was still toying with Gohan, holding back a good deal of his power. And the, to him, slow speed of the fight made it easier to listen in. Yeah, come to think of it, Goku laughed, indicating the group with a sweeping hand. If you count when Launch's good and bad sides were separate, and that time Nail regressed back to Piccolo? We've all got some issues. How do we get onto this topic of conversation anyway? Nail said tersely, anxious to get off of it. The point is, there could be trouble if Gohan loses control. Dabura repressed a sly smile. Perfect. Now if I can just get a few uninterrupted moments, I'll be able to return us to the ship. Slip away from this one and consult with Master Babidi at greater length than these snatches of mid-fight telepathy allow. He tried a leg sweep to trip Gohan and gain his few moments, but the Super Saiyan intercepted with a kick of his own, sending a jarring pain shooting up Dabura's leg. Ha! Gohan shouted, punctuating the counterattack. Growling bestially, Dabura raised one hand, again forming his blazing coal fire of an energy ball and firing it off at point-blank range. However, instead of exploding, it vanished into thin air. Gohan was standing unharmed opposite him, hands held up with fingers splayed in front of his face, a warping, shimmering section of the air the only remnant of the portal that he had shifted the attack down. An instant later, the energy attack reappeared, ramming into its fire from behind. Then, it exploded. Dabura coughed, his vision swimming, finding himself on his hands and knees with his cape completely scorched off. What? No! Gohan wasn't idle. He may have been showing amateurish tendencies, but he wasn't stupid enough to rest his laurels when such an opportunity to take the initiative presented itself. He barreled straight into Dabura, kicking him hard in the head and throwing him up and backwards. Gohan pressed the attack, jumping after him and punching him back down to the ground. Dabura thrust his feet out beneath him to regain his balance, throwing out twin craters as he struggled for traction amongst the fractured rocks. He tried to counterattack, swiping flat-handed at his stubborn opponent, but he was still too dazed for full accuracy. Gohan ducked under it without breaking stride, charging shoulder first into Dabura. Yelling in frustration, Dabura kicked out at Gohan as he flew backwards yet again, but Gohan caught his leg and swung him overhead, throwing him to the ground. Now, Gohan was forced to stop his relentless assault, almost as exhausted as his victim. Still taking me lightly? Is this really what all this fear was about? I spent years terrified of those visions. Sky's no problem. Dabura climbed to his feet. A single pulsing vein betrayed his inner fury, but he managed to retain his external composure. You are indeed an interesting fighter. Perhaps I should take this a little more seriously as you suggest. With the intention of doing just that, he sped forwards, vanishing from Gohan's sight. Too fast! Gohan noticed himself collapsing backwards before he'd even registered the pain. Nearby, Goku grimaced. Now he's fighting for real. I'm not sure if Gohan can handle it. Drops of nervous sweat dotted Nail's expansive forehead. His speed has increased as much as his power, but I saw no visible change. He's a fighter fully in control of his energy. Gohan saw the ground rushing up to meet him, rolled with the impact and stood up, only to find Dabura gone. An impact from behind informed him of his enemy's location, followed immediately by another. He tried to shift away, but a blow to the head dazed him, preventing his escape. He leapt away, finally catching sight of Dabura and hurling an energy sphere. Dabura, ire aroused, powered through the blast with little damage, smashing Gohan to the ground again.
Then, he paused. There, the opening I needed. Master Babidi, return us, please. The surroundings warped suddenly back to the ship. Hey! Gohan, having lost his Super Saiyan energy, was still conscious. He pushed his head up, shaking his head to clear a trickle of blood from his eyes. Don't run! I'm not done! Kibito stared with eyes full of admiration. Such tenacity in one so young. He truly doesn't know when he's beaten. Raditz nodded, glancing at Goku. He may not always act like a hero, but at heart he's his father's son. You! Gohan steadied himself, raising a fist in Dabura's direction. Get over here! I'm not finished with you! You think I'm running? Dabura glided over to the door. Far from it. But I have identified a fighter much more suited to fighting you in this stage than I. Feel free to select a new combatant of your own, or heal this one since you seem to place so much value on fairness. Farewell. Not that they will fare well, of course. With another quick use of magical materialization, he recreated his cape just in time to dramatically sweep out of the room. Odd, Kaioshin commented. What could he mean by that? Doesn't matter, Raditz replied. We'd have to fight all of Babidi's servants eventually to get to him, so where and in what order we fight them really doesn't matter to me. I suppose that's true. He lapsed back into silence, and other than Kibito healing Gohan's injuries, they all settled into an uneasy wait for their new enemy. Trust me, Master. I heard it from their own mouths. Dabura's face was lit as from a fire within as he spoke. Each and every one of them has evil in their hearts, or once did.
I see. Babidi cackled childishly. Oh, good work, Dabura! With this many, we're guaranteed success with at least one or two. Yes, we won't even have to lift a finger. They'll kill each other for us.
Dabura coughed. How much energy did my fight generate for Buu?
Well, you made the kid expend a good deal of energy, and did some real injury towards the end. He has incredible power for a world like this. We have nearly half the energy we need. Of course, you showed by the end of the fight that you were superior to him, but on the whole, I'm beginning to doubt your claim that you could defeat them all simultaneously.
They do possess startling fortitude, Dabura admitted. I haven't truly exerted myself in battle for quite some time.
Well, in any case, this will thin their numbers, if it doesn't eliminate them entirely.
Babidi turned to his crystal ball, raising his hands once more.
I can't believe our luck! You have outdone yourself!
His long, thin fingers played rapidly on the surface of the sphere, and the entire thing began to glow with alarming brightness.
Yeah!
Dabura turned his head away, screwing his eyes shut, but Babidi stared deep into the pulsing well of power that would soon be his to command. As one, Raditz, Goku, Gohan, Nail, and Launch began to hiss, then groan in pain, clutching their hands to their heads. They staggered off in random directions, doubling over and nearly falling. The sight would have almost been comical had the Supreme Kai not immediately known the reason.
No! Not all of them, surely!
Kibito paled. My lord, what can we do? Kaioshin shook his head slowly. This attack is from within. Only they can choose to resist or give in.
Everyone, you must fight it! Don't let Babidi in!
Raditz stumbled past him.
Resist!
Kaioshin urged.
You, all of you, you're not like those pitiful creatures in his servitude. He has no claim on you. Resist, I beg of you!
However, the more he talked, the more he got the feeling that his words fell on deaf ears. Their battles, as he had said, were now being fought within. Once he had his foot in the door, Babidi could turn your mind on itself. He didn't need to know your past or the reason for the taint in your soul. He could simply use your own knowledge against you. Raditz.
Get out of my head, you bastard!
Ah, so many. What are you? So many dead. You think your recent penance erases the pain you've caused?
I've been over this, thanks. The Judge of the Dead pretty much gave me a get-out-of-hell free card. Now piss off!
Don't kid yourself. I know all about you. You're far from innocent. You're not like them. They know nothing of the life you lived.
For which I'm glad. I'm never going back.
There is blood on your hands. Don't deny it. Why do you think the Saiyans were feared throughout the universe? I'm not... That's the past. Can you imagine them? In the afterlife, a chorus of outraged voices. Fear, anger, hatred, confusion. So many futures cut short. Get out of my head! For them, the day you cleansed their planet was the end of everything. The walking one-man apocalypse. You probably don't even remember it. Why should you? Only one mission. Out of how many? You are a murderer. You are a murderer on a massive scale. You are a monster, and you fool only yourself when you stand tall and walk with the rest of them, preaching your morals. Come back to the dark. Rejoin the rest of the monsters.
I'm no monster.
Oh? What are you? Go on, finish. Just what are you really? Raditz the Butcher.
I think you know. You know all about me, after all. I'm a Saiyan who turned his back on his people. The legendary warrior, with the pure heart awakened by rage. I am the Super Saiyan! Here!
Raditz flung his head back, feeling the spell break.
And stay out!
He exhaled slowly, realizing he'd powered up to Super Saiyan. The others were in similar states of unrest.
Guys!
The chorus of yells and growls was unnerving.
Don't listen to it! It knows you inside out!
Relief broke over Kaioshin's face like sunrise.
Raditz, you're...
Still me. Then at least one managed to escape. Do you think your friends, they'll pull through? His brow furrowed. They have to. Goku.
Son Goku. That's your Earth name. The Saiyans gave you another.
I'm a human first, sorry.
A touching sentiment. Do you not remember giving into that side of yourself? Tapping a reserve of power you didn't know you had?
That wasn't me.
You even used Kakarot. You know it's your true nature.
True nature can go jump off a cliff. This is where I was raised.
Only happenstance. Random chance caused you to become who you are. But for an accident, you would have been just like the rest.
And I've got to thank fate someday. That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Your true...
Look.
What?
You're in my head. Take a good look. Can you see anything that would make me think I'd even remotely consider going back to that?
Such simple-minded innocence. You really are pure.
Get out. Gohan.
What are you doing to me?
Ah, your demons are well known to all. Your infamous temper, rage even.
What's that got to do with anything?
It always comes hand in hand with such power. Think. If you gave into it fully, you could become so much more.
And so much less. What's the point of having power if all you're going to do is destroy?
Your father, your uncle, they look down on you. They far surpassed you. Show them your true potential. You're so much greater than they think.
Earning their respect? I don't care about that.
I find that hard to believe. Saiyans...
I don't care about Saiyans either. I'm human first. What I care about is everybody coming out okay. Which is not what happened if I flipped out and started marching out to Babadi's tune just for a little extra power.
You will regret this someday.
Yeah, I bet I will. Now leave me alone.
Launch.
A fractured soul.
It was. I fixed it.
Oh, you poor thing. Is that what you think?
Does it matter?
What you did was patch it together. Why bother when your dark side is so much stronger? All the nice you ever did was slow you down. Take orders, stay home and do the laundry. The bad you had so many adventures. Let's get this straight. The past is done. I'm one person and I'm happy with who I am. Which is neither of those two. You once thought your bad side was created as a reaction to some trauma. Has it ever occurred to you that it could be the other way around? Violence comes so naturally to you. It's in your heart. Look, you. I think you're confusing aggressive with evil. Don't be foolish. Just because you think you've tamed your darker urges, put them to use. You crave confrontation, aggression. The love of your life is an alien warrior. You spend half your years an outlaw and, more recently, devoted much time to breaking mountains with your bare hands. Whether you admit it or not, there is darkness in your soul. What?
Yeah, no. The recovered fighters leaned on each other for support, sweating oceans. Despite this, Raditz and Launch managed to reach each other and collapse into an embrace. Don't ever leave. I'm sorry. I won't make promises I can't keep, he sniffed. But I can give you one night. I'll hold you to that. Just... I need a second. I was wrong, you know. He remained there, head down, arms around her. I missed. I don't want to leave you again. Should have thought of that 7 years ago, she chided. I'm sorry. She didn't have an answer to that. Goku nodded to Gohan. I'm proud of you, he breathed. Yeah, it was no big deal. There really wasn't anything for them to get a hold of. Yeah, me either, I guess. Nail? You okay? Nail was still half bent over, hands clawing at the air, aura burning around him. Kaoshin shrunk back as he noticed.
Why hasn't he fought it off yet?
Nail.
You think yourself so noble, yet you let evil, pure evil, into you.
No. I fused with the one calling himself Katas. Piccolo, the name given to his darker side, was only a small part of him. And since I was the main fusee, that evil vanished with our merging.
You say that, and yet look what happened when your mind was interfered with. Who should appear but Piccolo?
Exceptional circumstances. I don't usually get mind controlled by Arctic robot scientists.
You cannot hide from me. You, Nail, are not the one I wish to talk to. Awaken, demon.
I won't... What's happening? I can't... How?
Piccolo. Many thanks.
You are aware of the offer?
Of course.
Do you desire this power? I would say you must give in to your dark side, but...
But with me it's the only side, right?
Or words to that effect. What do you say?
When do we start? A final explosion of energy, and then it calmed. The Namekian slowly straightened up, facing away from the group.
Nail?
Launch asked uneasily. Goku frowned. His ki is so... different. What just happened? Kaoshin flinched away, realizing roughly what had transpired.
Oh no!
Gohan grimaced. His head was burning and he was getting flashes of vision again, incoherent snatches of light and sound. If there was any doubt, not that there was, it's beginning. The Namek waved his hand, light playing around his fingers, and a white cape and turban materialized on his head and shoulders. He turned in a leisurely fashion, a grin and a scowl warring on his face. A fresh M mark on his forehead seemed to draw in all light around it, perching over his eyes like a malevolent insect. Goku drew in a shallow breath. Even if the other clues hadn't been there, he could never forget that leering face, that stern, murderous expression, those deadly eyes. Piccolo. Thank you so much for listening to chapters 75, 76, and 77. Next week, Majin Piccolo versus the Z Fighters. What'll happen? What'll be different? Find out next week. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the show. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Ginger Powers signing off.